Yesterday, I decided to try riding the train. I'd been curious for a while because when I walk along certain streets, I often hear a loud clattering noise coming from a distance. Wondering what it was, I followed the sound in the morning and found a strange looking pathway. It was open to walk through, so I crossed it and continued towards the other side, though I couldn't really make sense of it. Then suddenly, I heard a clanging sound, and a bar came down, blocking the path. I wasn't sure what to do, and I considered crossing back to the other side, but no one else seemed to enter the path once the bar came down, so I decided to stay where everyone else stood. Then, with a thunderous roar, a long object sped down the path, almost as if it were charging towards us. I was startled, but since the bar was there, no one else seemed frightened. The thing passed, the bar lifted, and people began crossing again. As I thought back, I realized that this was probably the train I'd learned about, a vehicle that you could ride like a car. I remembered a vehicle in the future. I only rode one once and didn't get a good look at it as I entered through a designated door. The place was not somewhere we could go usually, so a vehicle like a train is interesting for me. The station here, however, was slightly different from the one I remember in the future. Over there, a room that could hold about 20 to 30 people had a relatively large door, and you could board directly from there. Anyway, back to my story. Since I saw that train moving on the road with brown bars, I decided to follow it. I walked in the direction it had gone, and eventually I came upon a building which turned out to be the station. Inside, I saw many people passing through waist-high gates. By scanning something, it looked like a card or sometimes a device like a watch. When I tried to go through, the gate wouldn't open. I stepped back and watched the others, noticing a machine nearby that seemed similar to the one at the ramen shop, where people were purchasing what I believe are called tickets. I approached the machine, which had various things written on it. Although I could read it, I wasn't exactly sure how to proceed. Nevertheless, I inserted some money, pressed a button, and out came a ticket, which allowed me to pass through the gate. Inside the gate, I found several stairs and proceeded to one. After the stairs, there was a waiting area for the train. While waiting, I observed people around me, and before long, a loud announcement played, accompanied by music, and the train roared into the station. I got on without a specific destination in mind and sat down to watch the scenery pass by. Inside the train, there were various signs, small televisions, and station names displayed. The city was visible from the windows, and I can't quite describe it all here. After passing 4 or so stations, I started to wonder if I could be able to, well, I would be able to find my way back. I decided to get off, but as I stood on the station, I realized that I didn't recognize anything. If I boarded a different train here, I'd become even more lost. That thought created a pressure that made my heart suddenly start racing. The platform I was on only had 2 big grooves, one on each side. I didn't know which train to take and began to feel a bit anxious. I don't have much with me, but everything else I own is back in my room. I noticed that the platform I was on was labeled with a particular line and a destination, though I had no idea where I'd originally boarded. I saw a sign for the same line, but going in a different direction, which I couldn't verify was correct. I climbed some stairs to check another sign, which showed a different line altogether. I eventually decided that my safest bet would be to take the same line I'd initially boarded, but going into a different direction from the morning one. So I waited for the next train and got on. Inside, I tried to recognize the scenery, and although I wasn't entirely sure, the next station name seemed to be a little familiar, so I assumed it was the right one. I counted 4 more stations, then quickly got off when I thought I recognized the waiting area from earlier. I wasn't certain because I didn't remember the station name, but it looked like where I'd boarded. Approaching the gates, I realized I'd used my ticket when entering, so I didn't have it to exit. I searched for a ticket machine, but found none. I was worried I might be trapped, but I noticed a small window nearby where someone was available to answer questions. I explained that I'd used my ticket to enter, so now I didn't have one to exit. They asked if I'd lost it, to which I replied that I'd placed it in the gate, so I no longer had it. From the attendant's story, it seems you're supposed to retrieve the ticket after inserting it and use it again when exiting. They asked me about why I entered and exit at the same station, as it seems uncommon. I explained that I had made a mistake and returned, and eventually they helped me complete the necessary procedure so I could exit. On my way home, I stopped by the usual convenience store to buy some onigiris, okaka, along with some new flavors, tarako and ume. I chose okaka again because I enjoyed it last time. The taste was the same, relatively pleasant and easy to eat. Ume and tarako, however, reminded me of the local flavors in the past. The ume was so sour and salty that I was surprised. It was intensely sour, and I still wonder if it was supposed to taste like that or if something went wrong. The tarako was also salty. It tasted good. When I ate a small portion of that with rice, but as I continued, I found myself left with a big clump of tarako, which I struggled to finish. I used water to take the tarako in, and I ended up drinking lots of water afterward due to the saltiness. So yesterday was quite an adventure, full of unexpected twists. By the time I got home, I was exhausted and fell right asleep.